Hello everyone, this video is for my fellow economics teachers across New York City, and this video is really designed to help support the good work that you do with our students, and it works to complement the first major case study in Unit 1 of the economics curriculum, thinking about the dilemma that Casey has when they have to choose between two competing options. Whether to attend a senior fall formal at Economics High School or going into work at the Community Health Clinic in day 6 of Unit 1. And in the student-facing videos, there were two parts. In the first part, we looked at the various opportunity costs that were involved when making this decision, and we also introduced the case study. In this case, we looked at 4 different factors that Casey should consider as they make their decision. What is the time involved, social accolades, health, and money, as it relates to their decision in this dilemma. And our focus here is really going to be looking at what's happening on day 7 with the topic of philosophical chairs and thinking about the outcomes of each of Casey's potential choices and what they may result in. And the materials that you'll want to refer to are the philosophical chairs protocol, which we'll go over in a few minutes, and then the opportunity cost case study from day 6. This material can all be found as part of the Passport to Social Studies for Digital Learning curriculum materials in Economics Unit 1. I just want to point out a couple of things in terms of the note to teacher. So for this very first note to teacher, this may be a lesson that can be stretched into 2 or 3 days, depending on the kinds of conversations that you would want to facilitate with your students. I myself personally try to make the most use of breakout rooms on Zoom that I can using the DOE Zoom, and then also really trying to encourage students to contribute to the conversation both verbally in a larger class discussion, but also using the chat function on Zoom to be able to express their ideas in writing. So depending on the needs and norms of your class, when engaging in this protocol, you may wish to either engage in one class-wide discussion, depending on time, split the class in 2, or engage in parallel discussions in smaller breakout rooms using Zoom. This slide is also very useful. It provides a variety of supports for students with disabilities in a blended environment. So for every single item here that is underlined, if you click in, you'll notice that it does bring you to various hyperlinks that you could then use to help and support your students as they go through this material. And it would certainly be recommended to delete the slides before posting for student use. Really, the first slide that the students would see would be this slide here, thinking through the title of the lesson as opportunity cost for philosophical chairs, and thinking through the objective, carefully considering the best and worst outcomes of the choices they identified for case C. So the philosophical chairs is an instructional model that promotes critical thinking and logical reasoning, but really structuring the space to carefully consider the different views, arguments, and outcomes associated with a particular topic. In this case, all of the readings that the students would look at comes from day 6 as part of an annotated bibliography that students may have been exposed to as they were working through the introduction to the dilemma on day 6, or can also be introduced in day 7. For some guidance for instruction, the independent work that they're doing should be completed synchronously and in groups depending on the kind of arrangement that you've decided to use for your students. And in terms of the independent work, what they're going to want to do is look through the annotated bibliography to pick and choose which sources they would like to read if they have not begun to look at the sources in day 6, to begin or to continue reading and annotating those assigned sources, and to discuss what we've learned and how it relates to our initial thoughts and statements. In terms of wrapping up, there's a variety of ways that you could facilitate a conversation for students in this platform. These are some potential questions that you may want to consider for your students. And you'll notice in the philosophical chairs protocol that we made a decision. By all means, feel free to change it based on your own preferences and what you think would work best for your students and their needs. But really, we want to consider, again, the opportunity costs that are involved when we have to make the tough choices in life and how that reflects the the ever-present nature of scarcity in our lives. And then as a check for understanding, you could ask students which choice are they leaning towards now after conversing with their peers, and really thinking about the kinds of evidence they could put forth to explain why their choice would be the best possible one for Casey to make. And when we look at the philosophical chair's protocol, the first step is really to consider a statement. So in this case, we have Casey declines Mix St. Simone's request to cover their coworker shift at the clinic and attends the fall formal with their friends. So again, as we're kind of thinking it through, you may want to encourage your students to revisit their cost-benefit analysis matrix and really think about the costs and benefits in terms of the time that's involved when deciding to go to the school dance, the social accolades, the health, and the money that would be involved in making this kind of a decision. Initial thoughts, it'll help students if they spend some time, in this case 3 minutes, recording their initial ideas about the statements. And these are some guiding questions to kind of think through student thinking about the outcomes of making the choice given in the statement and whether or not the students themselves agreed with the choice that Casey made. Step 3 really speaks to the research component. And I think this is a really good opportunity to employ some choice in terms of what students might want to do. So in my classroom, what I might do is through the chat function, ask them which article they might want to read, and then create the breakout rooms manually so that students are assigned to the same breakout room in one group with other students who are reading the same document so that they can use the chat function, they can unmute their microphones and ideally speak to each other to help check for understandings and really just more importantly, make sure everybody's on the same page and that they're all getting through the source effectively. Then I would bring them back into the main room and share out their thoughts as a class and really kind of think through all the different perspectives that come up in each of those articles. Another option I've done is then to split students randomly into other additional breakout rooms to discuss what they learned from their documents and to essentially crowdsource their ideas to really come up with major takeaways from the readings in the annotated bibliography that supports Casey's decision or that goes against Casey's decision. And then step 4 on the protocol really speaks to the actual discussion. So there is a series of questions that are put directly into the protocol itself from the curriculum and instructional planning team. And then I as the video content specialist, added 3 additional questions that you may want to provide as scaffolds, whether it be in the document itself or something that could be placed in the chat on a PowerPoint slide for students to consider as they're discussing their ideas with their classmates, considering again the main idea or argument that's presented in the text that they read, considering relevant evidence or really thinking about the specific words and phrases that helps to best express that argument or main idea, and then considering how the evidence fits into their understanding of the topic and their position on it. Once you felt that enough time has elapsed in the conversation, step 5 gives students an opportunity to really reflect on the work that they've done. It also serves as a nice check-in for understanding for you as the instructor to see what students were able to get out of the conversation and really kind of considering where they stand now on the dilemma and thinking about the decision in terms of what they originally thought going into this lesson from day 6 into day 7, what they learned by reading some additional sources, and then what they learned by having conversations with their classmates about the topic. All right, so that'll do it for today. I hope everybody has a nice day. Stay tuned for the next video in the series.